What is up, Honey Badger Nation, man? Thank you guys tuning in to this episode of Expert Mentors Live, episode 269. And we got Mr. Chuck Fazio back on. Chuck, great to have you back, buddy.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Appreciate you jumping in. Real quick, and I want to hit hard here, but you still have my favorite T-shirt of all time, by the way. So hashtag is just math, and so
just math.
Just a great reminder, and so. I'm really excited about today's topic. Right before we went live here, we were talking about how important it is, not only real estate agents, but just in general, for if you're trying to do anything, I don't think there's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's all in. So I'm really excited for you to unpack that. Really, nobody more qualified to talk about being all in than you. And so, what does all in mean? What does it mean to you, Chuck?
Well, first I want to preface it. Everybody doesn't have to be all in, but then don't expect results that you get when you're all in. All in means you are committed. You're committed, you're unwavering, and completely focused, dedicated at creating habits one after another. It's probably a word people throw around that really, really don't understand what all in means.
Right.
And I'd like to unpack that with you today.
Let's do it. And you said the word there that really kind of rang in my ear was committed. And so what does that mean, right? What does committed mean to you?
Well, we all have different personality styles. And once I started to learn that in business, I'm a driver. So is my wife. Committed means, there's no obstacle that's going to stop me. It's just a matter of time whether I find a way around it or I run through it. So here, let's just dive back a little. How I started to understand what all in is and why it made such a difference in my life and my career. So we were broke. My wife and I were broke when we first met in real estate, and I thought I was committed. And I thought I was like, this is what I want. But once I started to understand that my actions never reflected my words, I started to say to myself, man, you're just a liar. Who are you fooling out there? Because, my kids even laugh at me. They love my favorite quote. I always say, talk is cheap. And that's when even self-talk, and that's when it hit me. I go, I wanted a life like this, but at the same time, I was operating without that aligning. And that's why I say to people, I go, you lie to yourself. Mm. And only you can tell what all in means. So when I started to go all in, what that meant was I didn't focus on the goal. I didn't focus on the sale. I focused on the process. So I always say embrace the process. There's a process to everything. And a process does not necessarily mean you're going to get results when you do the process right away. It could be a day, it could be a week, it could be months or years. Mm. But when you see someone that's already done it, he's used the Roger Bannister thing. When somebody's done it, the process works, but you think there's an easier path. So everybody tries this easier path. So what I used to do with my agents who would be thinking they're working hard, and they say, you know what, Chuck, I need to set up a meeting with you. And you probably would really understand this because you're a coach. And you sit down and all that goes through your head is they're talking. They're talking about how much they're working. In your head, you're like, yeah, whatever. Look, everybody out there, don't think you're fooling anybody when you talk to a coach and want to sell them on what you actually do.
Right.
What I always did is I said, listen, I don't want to hear it. Remember, talk is cheap. Do me a favor. For the next 2 weeks, I want you to do a time study. And what a time study for me is, the moment you wake up, every half an hour, I want you to jot down what you did for the half an hour prior till the moment you go to bed. Now, it is tedious, but if someone wants success, I tell them all the time, you want me to coach you, you want success, you have to do that.
Yeah.
And then I always end up with this. because I'm just a straight shooter and I don't care what people think because I want them to be successful. They go, and I will prove to you how much you don't work. And you want to know something, John? I cannot tell you, and Angela always laughed, how many people do not show up for the next appointment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing. And I believe some of them never even finished a time study. That's how lazy they are.
Uh-huh.
So that's when you know, and I'm sure you coach a lot of people. You hear the same thing, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's busyness versus productiveness. And I love what you said, because all of the external things really don't line up until you can get that internal dialogue dialed in. And something you said, and I would love for you to give some context on ways that has helped you, because it's like integrity, right? I do what I say I'm going to do, yet we break the promise. We can't even keep the promise we make to ourselves.
Yeah.
So for you, like, how did you overcome that, right? Like, you catch yourself, you weren't keeping the promise, like the self-awareness, the correction, is it accountability? Like, where does that like switch to where it's like, damn, I can't do that anymore?
Where I can't go down the path I'm going and expect good results. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, no. Well, the just talk, right, and not keeping the promises that we make to ourselves, and really, we're not lying to others. We're just really lying to ourselves, and really,
So
all truth.
That's a great question. I'm blessed. I'm blessed because my wife is my partner. So there's definitely a direct correlation between people who get coached by a good coach. And when I use that term good coach,
Mm-hmm.
there are coaches out there that will tell you what you want to hear,
Mm-hmm.
just for sake of getting your money every month.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to do the difficult things. Nobody wants to hear the negative. I always draw a similarity to churches in this day and age. There are churches that'll tell you what you want to hear, not the biblical concept. Why? Because they want you to keep coming back. They don't want to tell you the hard truth that you need to hear. And it's the same thing with coaches. So when I've noticed, because I am the most uncoachable person probably on this planet, I do not like anybody telling me what to do. I'll just figure it out. But here's what I noticed. By nature, I'm going to just blanket it and say every human being is lazy by nature. They
100%.
want the results without putting in the hard work.
Correct.
So what a coach brings to the table, it's the accountability. It's the calling of the bullshit. It's not necessarily knowing every detail you need or every nuance to make you successful. It really is the accountability part. Just like in the gym. Yes, you want a good trainer that's going to tell you to do the proper movements so you don't get hurt. But really, ultimately, the most powerful coaches are the ones that make sure you show up
Mm-hmm.
and do the work. So for me, I've been blessed because my coach is my wife.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't look at her as my coach. She's my spouse, she's my best friend, she's my soulmate. So we hold each other accountable. And the last thing I want to be is a lazy ass husband where my wife goes, what the hell am I married to?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm held accountable by love. And I want to make sure she knows I'm the man of the household. So I'm blessed in that way, because probably without her, I don't know if I'd be where I'm at.
Yeah.
Most people don't have that gift or that blessing. So here are the two things I would say to people out there. A, if you do have a spouse or a significant other, maybe you need to, even if they're not in the business, maybe you need to have that tough conversation and say, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to working. And, I always love telling dads this, when you have kids and you got a wife at home, and I see them at work all day or in the office, sitting there bullshitting and talking on Facebook and, doing the things that they shouldn't be doing to get business. And I say, here, you know what? I'll challenge you. Go home and sit down with your wife and your kids every night and tell them what dad did to make money for the day. I go, would you be embarrassed to tell them what you did, or would you be proud?
Yeah.
Accountability. So A, if you have a spouse or a significant other or even a child that maybe is more grown up, let them hold you accountable, because being held accountable by love, that's a big why.
Yeah.
That's a big why. The second is, if you don't have that or they're not willing to do that, find a good coach. It really is who you surround yourself with matters.
It's so important, Chuck. And, you look at kind of that equation, right? Like environment and circumstance drives our thinking, and then our thinking becomes, belief, and then belief, how we feel, and then how we behave, and the results that we get or we don't get. And I'm like, give me to the source, right? Like I don't want to know all these. I'm like, where do I need to start? And it's so important of what you allow around you, what you allow to get to you. And, I love Coach Prime has, his philosophy of, if you disrupt my peace any at all, you are removed from the equation immediately, right? I can't allow 100%. That to happen.
100%, because you got to protect your space, because you're in that zone,
right?
And I say, and the more you live it, year after year after year, the more you recognize it, not just physically, but emotionally. Like, I could feel negative energy. I tell people, I'm at a point in my life, I could not be around a negative person, even if it's my own kid. Right. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that as I'm better than them. Is I physically can't. I could feel being drained, and all of a sudden going into shit. Why am I having a bad day?
Yeah.
It's uncanny when you start to live that way. It does become easier,
right?
Because it becomes a habit.
But it starts with the people, and then I think like you said, having that in of the commitment. I just have been always of the belief that you don't like commit and figure it out. You figure out what it is that I want to achieve. What do I want? Maybe more importantly, what I don't want, right? I think a lot of people struggle with this grand venture, my goals. What do I want? I'm like, I don't know. Why don't we start with what you don't want? And then we can look at the opposite of that and what that could look like. And then like in real estate, it's like, typically a revenue target where I want to be. Okay, well, how many homes do I need to sell? Let's reverse engineer down to what do I need to do daily within my control? And is that then something I can commit to? Is that something I can go all in on? So do you believe, Chuck, like if you're struggling to kind of figure out what to go all in on, is it more important to make sure you surround yourself with the right people first, and then those people can help you figure out what the goals are? Or do you need to have kind of an idea of what it is you want for your life?
That's you actually made me think of something when you say it's what you don't want, and you just nailed it. It just triggered something in my mind. That was the catalyst of what made me go, Chuck, you're lying to yourself. You know what I did not want? I did not want to work for someone ever again. I did not want a job. And because, like I say, I'm uncoachable. I don't like people telling me what to do. I like to be in control. When I have a job, I'm not in control. That, you just nailed it. That made me go, how bad do I not want that again?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Egyptians, they wanted to go back, but they forget how bad it was. So to answer your question, I don't know that it's that chicken or the egg thing, but I really believe if for me it was, I did not want that. What do I now need to do to not ever get back there? And like I said, for me, it's Angela was with me through the whole process. We were both failures. We both never wanted a job. We wanted to be together, and we just grinded it. We just grinded out. I'm people always ask me, and I'm brutally honest. I've never did a planner. I'm not one that plans. I'm not one that writes out the years. I'm not writing that writes out goals, or I got to knock on this many doors. I've never done that in my life. I've been blessed as a visionary. I literally could visually see, if it was real, what I want. And here's the crazy thing, John. I've never not achieved something that God gave me a vision for. Right down to the building I built. I had that vision years before I even had the money to do that.
Yeah.
Like I literally saw the layout of that building. So I've been blessed that way. And my philosophy is I'll just outwork anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'll outgrind you.
Yeah.
And if something's not working, I'll just keep grinding in a different direction.
Chuck, it's so powerful that the visualization concept is extremely, extremely important, especially for individuals that kind of struggle and they're in the grind. They're in this just circular groundhog days. They've lost sight of the bigger future. And some people, they struggle with that. Some of it, like you, it kind of comes naturally. And when you see it, it's having, manifestation, being able to manifest that is real. And that's the power of like the vision board concept. And I love, for Sella at First Form, they have over 500 employees. And he's like, man, there's no way for us to get to know each other. He goes, but you know what we do? We make everybody do a vision board when they first come on, and the vision boards are hanging throughout our entire facility. And now we hold everybody to their dreams, to their vision, so they don't lose focus of why they're here in the first place. But what you said was so powerful, that you're driven by the desire to never go back to who you were. You're following a vision. You're driven from I refuse to go back. And that's so powerful when you have that drive, that motivation internally to get clear there. And I think that's where a lot of agents struggle. And the vision and moving away from something is like, don't set that aside, because that's a powerful, powerful energy to be able to tap into.
Yeah. But here's, there's always biblical concepts for me that make sense to everything we're saying, because God does say, where there is no vision, the people will perish.
Correct.
He literally says you're created that way. But yet, and I alluded to it, the Egyptians were in slavery. They were enslaved. It was like probably the worst job you could ever have in your life. And they just cried out to get us out of here. And when God took them away from it, here's the crazy thing, John. Here's the parallel that I want people to get. Whether you believe it's written by God or not, just listen to this. You get these guys enslaved. That means they're getting whipped, the little food, heat every day, building the pyramids or whatever. And then God takes them away from it. And then all of a sudden, they weren't getting the food that they want. So the life wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as it was in Egypt. And all of a sudden, they forget. We're forgetful people. They were going, we'd rather go back. And it's insane when you think that someone, when you read the book, you go, why the hell would you ever? Yes, it wasn't great here, but the pain was greater here. Do you know we do that every day? We do that every day. We forget. I always say you forget your Egypt. You forget the slavery. So when you're running into difficult times now, trying to make it in real estate, you go, if I would have done that, I would have been like, yes, I hated working for somebody, but I could have been like, but at least I got a paycheck.
Yeah.
We are so forgetful people. That's why we constantly need to be reminded.
Yeah. We're humans, right? We need to be reminded more than we need to be told. And it's falling into complacency, but I'm going to like come back to, the massive vision, moving away from the pain, but the accountability, that coach, that partner, if that person knows that it's okay to remind you over and over and over, then I think it keeps you moving in the direction. Might waver off the path a little bit, but it keeps you moving in the direction that you're envisioning and where you want to go.
Or even a good team leader, John. When people go, oh, here's what they do. Oh, but I got to give up that money. I go, what money? You don't have it. You can't give up something you don't have. And that's their mindset. It really is a scarcity mindset, and it's a mindset that this culture we live in embeds into people. I seen some woman posted in the Real Estate Mastermind, and she goes, "Hey, can anybody tell me what no fee brokerages are out there? I want to go there." And I go, "How about this?" I go, "Why don't you look for a brokerage that's going to actually help you sell real estate?"
Yeah,
your mindset right off you're set up for failure. Nobody saves their way to success.
Chuck, how do you coach through, or how do you help somebody shift that scarcity to abundance mindset?
There is no magic formula. It's a constant. Here's how I do it, and me and Angela were really good at doing it. We do it through motivation. We want them to forget what they're really doing, and the words that come out of your mouth are extremely powerful. So we've learned not to go do this, do this, do this. Nobody wants to hear that, not even a kid. But when you kind of change the narrative to, hey, you know what? Let's go out door knocking, and I have a better goal for us. Let's not try to get a listing. And they look at me, because I want to distract them, because I did this. Because it's harder to get a listing to go knock 100 doors, or would it be harder to have conversations? It's harder to get the listing. So I go, let's not focus on the listing. I'm going to challenge you today. I want you to be able to keep someone at the door for 1 minute.
Yeah.
And you hear I'm talking to them, I'm like, psyched and motivated, and I'm like, they completely forget what they're even out there for.
Yeah.
Now they're going, oh my gosh, okay, I want to go back to Chuck. I got 10 people to speak to me for a minute. Now all of a sudden, you see the way they change they're excited. I could do that. But see, it's a game you play with their mind, because me and you both know conversations could lead to appointments.
Yeah.
So a good coach distracts the harder stuff. Yeah. It really does. I always say to people when they go, I don't like the door knock, and I go, why not? And they go, because I feel like I'm bothering them. And I go, well, that's a valid point, but you're only bothering someone when you don't have value. So I always use the thought process, and I go, do you like when people knock at your door? And you go, never. I go, there would never be a reason. No, never. They're bothering me. I go, if I knocked at your door and you opened the door and I had $100 bill in your hand, and I said, hey, look, I'm just going around to neighbors offering them $100, would you turn me away? And she goes, God, no. Oh, so there's a reason. There can be a reason. Right. So I flip the narrative. I go, do we live in a very sad world? Could there be lonely people out there that may be living alone and haven't talked to anybody, or words of encouragement? I go, let's not talk about real estate. Let's sit and knock on doors. So you know what? I'm here to bring some joy into your life. Do you think their mind might have just switched because they're prepared for a sales pitch?
Yeah.
And remember, you're only out there to make conversation.
Yeah.
And then what typically happens is these people go, well, what do you do? Well, I sell homes.
Yeah.
You see, God, there's so many ways to get out there, John, that people, they get the wrong vision in their head.
Yeah. And they get down into the too tactical of the things, right? You look at it with the business. It's always the what, the who, the how. I think we all agree. It's always the who. That's the most important. Who you surround yourself with. Who do you align with? Who do you want to help you, navigate and travel the path? Then the plan. And then I think it's like, it's all mindset, Chuck, this. And, some of my favorite questions, what are all the ways? Right? What are all the ways? How can we do this? How can we have a game? How can we, have fun with this? We know the objective, like you said, is have a conversation. You get somebody in a conversation, ultimately it's going to come out, what do you do? And it's just going to lead right into it. So it's just so natural. And I think people want to have all of the answers before they take the first step.
You know what, John, here's a thing that I'd like some of your listeners to hear loudly. People do business with people they like, period. You can look that up. That is just a blatant fact. You will never find people do business with people that are extremely knowledgeable in what they do as the first thing. You can't get to that point if they don't like you.
Yeah.
So if you're a brand new agent or an agent that goes, I don't know what to do. I'm new in real estate. Good. What's your personality like? Like I said, go just knock on doors to talk to people. Get into that feel of just talking to people.
Yeah.
And literally sell yourself. You knock on the door, they answer, and you go, hey, my name is Chuck. You know what? I'm just walking the neighborhood just to see if anybody needs someone to talk to. I can guarantee, I shouldn't say guaranteed nobody, because you'll always got one asshole out there that people will complain about anything.
You're having a bad day.
But could you imagine, hey, do a month of that. it starts laying the foundation that you learn how to talk to people.
Yeah. You know what they respond to. Do they know what they value? You know how to really just start to have a conversation.
And there are people that want conversations.
Yeah, I agree, brother.
Yeah.
So good. I know, short and sweet, we hit them hard, but it's super, super important. I think right there, right? Get the right people around you in pursuit of the right vision, moving away from the thing that you know you don't want. And if you can go all in and do anything, right? It's Chuck, what it is, it's what can I do today within my control that's going to move me closer to where I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing more powerful in this business that you can do within your control is have conversations.
Yes. And you use the key word, move. We don't move. We're lazy. Move in that direction. So.
Move. Awesome, brother. Appreciate you. I can't wait to do it again. Guys, appreciate you. Give Chuck love, and we'll see you guys next time. See ya.